Start. We're not caught yet, and we do want to make some votes today. But anyway, so we're probably going to shift the agenda around a little bit just to see if there's anybody else who's going to join in. But thanks so much for coming along on a lovely afternoon, where hopefully the government is going to fall down, which would make it a bonus, wouldn't it? And if it, oh, that's April. Yes. Any government, I don't know. And if anybody does find any news, if they could just raise their hand, and we will interrupt the meeting to find that out. That's one more member, so that's good news. Grand. So, I'm standing in front. So this is the agenda for today. Okay. Anyway, I'll move on. So we're going to go through this. Might shift this around a little bit with the voting. But essentially we'll go through all the stuff that we've been able to do, and then we've got the accounts bit, and then some nice thank yous, and then we'll end. And you can have the lovely sandwiches. They're vegan sandwiches that are all very, very nice. Myself and the director, my name is Alistair Mumford. I'm holding the chair at the moment. Obviously, we rotate the chair around the group of directors. There's some other directors here today. We generally, obviously, only ever see just our fellow directors. So it's always lovely once a year to be able to see you, the members, which is why we're doing all this thing, but obviously there's a bigger picture as well. Can we be voting? No? No, not yet. Okay, so we'll go on to policy update. So, Trina, are you all right to give us a bit of an update on the lack of policy? No.
Hi, those of you who haven't met yet, my name is Trina. I'm the new director of Ecoe, but we'll get on to that a bit later. I'm just giving you a very quick update on the policy stuff that's been going on in the past kind of year surrounding energy and community energy in particular. So unfortunately, we have had the end of any actual targeted governmental financial support for community energy. Last year we had the Rural Community Energy Fund, and but that is now finished. And so they're now directing, so the government has directed community energy groups to more general funds, such as the Levelling Up and Shared Prosperity, which are general funds for lots of organisations. This year there was quite a big decision made on the access significant grid. It didn't mean anything to me either, so don't worry. But it's just basically how much they're going to charge for connecting generation or demand to the network. And it potentially could be quite good news. It could mean that we'll know the final decisions in November, but it could mean, depending on where we are, that it's going to cost us less to connect with solar than we want to, and it also, demand on the whole is it's becoming a lot cheaper to connect heat pumps and electric vehicle chargers and that sort of thing. So it's good news on that front. And in the past year, there's been quite a lot of developments in terms of wider energy policy. So there's been heat and building strategy, hydrogen strategy, net zero, energy security, and today was actually the first energy bill that was introduced into Parliament. So on a wider scale, there is a lot going on. So I hope if you are interested in that, you can come talk to me separately afterwards for more detail, but I won't bore all of you with that. And lastly, the State of the Sector, which is the annual report that Community Energy England, Wales and Scotland do about the whole of the community energy sector, came out a couple of weeks ago. And it's basically telling us, if you look at that graph over there, it's basically showing how much, for that graph in particular, is generation. So it's saying the growth of community generation. So you can see that 2016 to 2019 is pretty good growth, and it has stalled considerably since then from the end of the feed-in tariff. And so, yeah, there are new kind of business models that people are exploring in the wider sector. Ultimately, it has seen a drop-off since obviously the support has decreased. And there's just a little graph there just showing exactly how much generation in 2021 there was from the whole of the community energy sector. So it's 331 megawatts currently. So yeah, that was a very, very quick policy update. But yeah.
Thank you, brilliant. Yeah, quick connection.
costs, you know.
Yes.
One-off costs or ongoing.
So the access to SDR was just for the initial cost, the one-off one. There's new kind of reviews into the ongoing ones coming up this year, but they won't be enforced till 2028.
Right, now, some of you might have noticed, sorry.
Just some comments from Zoom to be louder, slower, and clearer.
Okay, okay, we can
Sorry.
do more of that. Now, the warm feeling some of you may have felt just a few minutes ago, we suddenly became corporate, so we're all much more calm and relaxed now. This is all good news. So I'm going to go back in the time, we'll go back in the slides, and yes, oh, yeah. So, voting then. We're going to get it out and done, so then you can fall asleep, go home, whatever. No, we're going to get it all done now. So just to say, it's got to be a 75% majority for the vote to go through. We will need a proposer and a seconder. It can be the same person, but if anybody wants to do it, it's great. You get down on the minutes. Only members can vote. If you don't think you're a member, or unsure, say now, and we can check.
No, I'm not sure, I know.
You know it. Fine, that's good. Keep your hands down.
Am I a member? Because I think our shares are in mixed name.
So what's the name?
That's great.
Allott, ALLOTT, Helen Christine, Chrissy.
Ah, yeah.
They're in mixed name. They're in mixed name, so he can vote.
Ah, so Nick can name, Nick will vote on your behalf. So there you go, Nick.
Right, thank you.
No problem at all. And David's got to count, so do keep your arms up. It's very slow at counting. And online, I'm assuming they just need to put agree or thumbs up. Yeah.
Well, there's a Zoom call.
Oh, of course there is. We're very organised. Right. Okay. So the first one then. The minutes. Can we have approve the minutes from last year? There are some copies over there. Should have had minutes being sent out to you as it is. I will be the proposer. Can I have a seconder? Tara. Everyone happy with those minutes? Yeah. Don't drop those hands. Thank you very much. You can now drop your hands. Great. Abstain. And against? No. Perfect. To approve the accounts for year ending 31st of March 2022. Tara, do you want to be the proposer? Anybody want to be the second? David? Oh, right, you've got to get your numbers. Okay. Oh,
Slow down.
well, we're already 15 minutes. Yeah? Yeah? Cool. Excellent. So, to approve the accounts for year ending 31st of March 2022, Tara's going to be a proposer. David Bacon's going to be a seconder. Okay, and so those that approve, can you put your hand up if you agree to approve? Yeah. Against? Abstentions? Perfect. Tell me when you're ready to go to the next one. Ah, question.
Quick question, 5-1 presentation account, so all that's happened. Yes.
Yeah, Trevor's on his way, our finance director. So, yeah, apologies. Move on to the next one. Yeah. So, next one to agree.
Small comment. I tried to download from actual accounts and something from online, and it said the file was corrupted on P2.
Oh,
There are the physical copies over there.
yeah, but thanks for letting us know. It should have been able to we'll check on that. Thank you. So move on to the third one then, David. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So to agree for the accounts not to be audited. Can I have a proposer, Prina, seconder? David Setti. So Prina's going to be the proposer, David Setti, seconder, and to agree, yes, agree. There we go. Great. Abstain. No one. Against. No one. No, we're doing that. Oh, I haven't got that.
No, we did.
Yes, yes, first one. Yeah. So number 4, oh yeah, sorry, we missed number 1. Sorry, that's my fault. We're going back to number 1. I will get organised one day. So, approve director's recommendation to pay shareholder interest at 5%, year ending 31st of March 2022. So for all you members, this is the one that you really like. Can I have a proposer? David Bacon, and I'll be the seconder. And again at 4. Okay. Try and use the other arm, balance things out. Okay. And abstention. And no's. Fine. Great. So last one then. Okay, then. Yep. Approve director's recommendation to pay £3,500 from the profits of solar PV plus other such amounts as are decided by the directors into the community fund. Proposer, sorry, I've forgotten the name.
Nick Morgan.
Sorry?
Nick Morgan.
Nick Morgan.
Yeah.
And Tara will be the seconder. And to approve our lovely community fund, not to make the lead one way or the other. Great. And abstentions and against. Okay, brilliant. Nearly there, nearly there. So the next ones then are a little bit more exciting. Oh, it keeps on appearing. Right, let me move it. So this one's quite boring as well, but we have to do it. We've changed our registered office. So we used to be at Stephen Scope, and Regen very kindly said that they will now be our registered office. So we just need to vote that through. So I'll be the proposer, Clara will be the seconder, and 4.
Which is the
next one is this one's the address.
yes.
Can you share it on Zoom as well so we can vote on it there, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, just give it a few seconds for the to go through. You go to the next.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Abstentions, against. No. Okay, great. Oh, right. No, that one. So this one is a little bit more into it, really, but essentially at the strategy meeting which we had a few weeks ago with the directors, we went through the rules basically and the aims and objectives of the organisation. So these are the ones that are in the rules that we register with Companies House, and we just felt that they weren't really exactly with what we were doing, and they could do with being tidied up just to make sure everything is clear. And I don't think Ecoe Energy's really changed that much, but we're starting to do some other stuff. But mainly they didn't properly reflect what we were doing. So some of you will have this slide. But essentially, this on the left-hand side, you might be able to read is our old ones, and this is what we're proposing to move over to on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side here. So the key bit here is to develop and manage community-owned renewable energy projects in Exeter, pretty much the same. We'll just say and the local area, because we are starting to do stuff outside of Exeter, to create a local green energy supply that improves Exeter and the local area, for the same reason, energy security and resilience. So again, the only real change is there, we're saying and the local area. This one we've pretty much added in wholesale, really, which is to deliver and promote inclusive, practical, low carbon energy efficiency projects that enhance energy literacy, access and affordability and reduce fuel poverty. And so that's really, because there's a growing area. Ty's going to talk about that work in a bit, and obviously it's increasing importance all the time, so we want to stick that in there. And number 4 is pretty much the same as it was before, and number 5 is about the community fund that we had. Any questions on those at all? Do ask if you have.
So could you quickly explain the difference between 2 Ds?
2 Ds. Between number 2 and number 3.
Oh, sorry, if I got it down on the agenda as D. The 2 4.
2 4s, thank you, sorry. So, well, they should be pretty much exactly the same. Yeah, 4 and 4 are the same. 3 and 3, basically the old one was to raise awareness of and promote local health, local low carbon solutions to the global challenges of reliance on fossil fuels and their associated climate impacts. Yeah.
So if we amalgamate 3 and 6.
That's right, yes.
Into the new.
So we combined it and brought in.
The old 3 and 6
Yeah.
moved into the new 3 and we reworked it.
Yeah, I brought in this fuel poverty because that one is nice but doesn't need to be much. Okay. Okay, happy to vote. So, if I'll be the proposer, David can be the seconder. I'm going to pick on people now, so we don't have time. So, 4. Have hands in the air for 4, please. Keep them there. Okay. Abstentions? And against. Great. Thank you so much. We got through it. Well done. All together, we're there. Right. So we've done the. Oh, we have to do that now. All right. So we're now going to skip. See, all this just gone completely. Right. So we're just while we've warmed up our voting arms, we're going to go and do the director's bit. There we go. So, standing for re-election is David Thompson. Can't not vote for him because he's doing all the voting work at the moment. So please let him stay. Yeah, exactly. Prina, you can be a proposer. Anybody else want to be a seconder? Oh, Tara, well done. So we vote to re-elect David Thompson. Those 4, please. Put your hands in the air. Great. Okay. Thank you. Any abstentions? And any no's? Brilliant. And then we've got 2 new directors. So you've heard from Prina already. Prina works for Regen as well, so she's built asset to our team. She's been with us a few months now, so this will be your first AGM, so it's great to have her on board. Francis Mosley as well. He can't be here today because he's enjoying himself in Scotland. Hopefully he's being eaten by midges while we sit in this room together. Francis works for Ofgem, which is the regulator for the energy market, so another great asset to have, and they've moved to London. I think that's moved to Exeter. I think that's partly because of COVID, so every cloud has a silver lining. So if we could vote to have Francis and Prina as directors. So, sorry, I've forgotten. Oh, was there a question?
There's a question, yes.
Yes.
Tell us just a little bit more about what expertise they have, as well as they work for.
Yeah, so Francis, oh, well, Francis was here really, but so Francis works in the policy team at Ofgem. So he's doing quite a lot of work around sort of energy, about the energy markets and things like that. So it's been great to have him on.
He's planning for net zero, and so he's doing a lot of work, I think, on decarbonising transport, and so planning for electrifying vehicles, providing enough electricity for that is one of the things.
It's profiled on our website, isn't it?
Yeah, there's an introductory post for him on the website as well.
Right, yeah. Right, and Prina, do you want to do a quick, sorry, I'll pick on you for a second?
Yeah, so I sorry. Yeah, so I work for Regen, which is based in Exeter, and I've been working in the community energy space for about a year and a half, just supporting community groups around the country. So I have a lot of interaction with other community groups everywhere, so hopefully that can be really useful. And also Regen as a whole, so we work wider in the energy decarbonising energy, and so we do a lot of the technical stuff as well. So
Okay, yeah, great. So what are we doing? No. David's going to be a proposer. Tara's going to be a seconder.
I've got them as separate votes on Zoom.
Okay.
Oh, you got to do them twice. Yes, I see what you mean. So I thought, okay, so I thought we just done with David. No?
No, Francis and Rena are separate ones.
Oh, 2 separate votes. Sorry, I did it. So for Francis, then, while he's not here, being rained on in Scotland, so can I have 4 abstentions and against? Yeah, and then for Prino, 4. Yep, and abstentions and no's. Great. Cool. That's it. We have definitely done all the voting there. Oh yeah. Yeah, well done. High special voting there. Yeah. You can't leave now. Right. Let me go back then. Okay. Did you put all these animations in? Is it the directors? Right, I remember first board meeting. There we go. Right. Okay. So solar PV 1 to 3. David, would you like to talk about the current solar panels that we have on the roof?
Yes, there.
On that carpet.
Good, right, so yeah, I'm operations director, been in the post for about 12 months, or since the last AGM really. So I'm reporting on the PV1, 2 and 3 sites, so we've got 11 sites in Exeter and the local area. Generation was slightly down this last year, mainly because it was a good year the year before, but that hasn't affected revenue, mainly because I think people have come back from COVID and building users have been in the building using the electricity that we've been generating, and we get a better rate for the building users to use our PV rather than sending it back onto the grid. Counterintuitively, the carbon saving has gone up. Obviously, with the grid decarbonising over time, you'd expect it to be declining, but again, I think this is another COVID repercussion. Previously, in the year before, there wasn't so much energy demand on the grid because people weren't at work and were at home. So the grid intensity was lower. So although we generated more power, it was versus a lower grid carbon intensity. In the last year, we've generated against a higher carbon intensity grid, which has meant that the carbon savings gone up. And on the final part with the savings, what we've looked at is if the building users were being charged 25 pence a kilowatt hour, we compared that versus if that was their other option of getting an electricity supply, we compared that to what we're charging them, and over the year that would have been equivalent to about a £44,000 saving. So it's really great for our users, yeah. But that's a kind of almost like a fictitious number, but it gives you a feeling for sort of the benefit that we can provide to building users. One of the issues that the revenue, the generation was down a little bit was also we had one of the sites, Glasshouse Lane Medical Centre, was down until sort of July time, this time last year. So we missed a good portion of the Q2 generation, which is one of the best quarters of the year. So yeah, that's my Right. So yeah. So if there are different assets that go onto the grid to generate electricity. If you're looking at the fossil fuel generation, so the gas turbines, what's left of the coal, when they generate electricity, that will be a very high grams of carbon dioxide for every kilowatt they make. So it could be in the hundreds, 400, something like that for a gas turbine, upwards of that for coal. Overall, obviously there's a number for it averaged out across the whole of the grid. So you've got nuclear in there, you've got the wind, you've got solar, all in a mix. So it's almost dynamically changing every half an hour or so, they'll give you a new number. So when I've looked at that, I've taken a quarterly average, because that's kind of when we take our numbers for revenue generation. So I've compared quarter by quarter what the carbon intensity is with what we've generated in that quarter, and then added that up over the whole year, and then compared that to the numbers from the previous year. So in 21-22, the grid intensity was higher, so we were in and around about 180 grams per CO2 per kilowatt hour, whereas in 2021 it might have been down at, say, 160, 170. Therefore, that difference plus the change in generation quantity that's where I got the number from. Is that answer the question?
Yeah.
So what we should see is the grid is due to decarbonise over the next decade. Our carbon intensity and carbon savings will decline over time because we're contributing to that decarbonisation. So, yes.
On the revenue side, is it all from the electricity you generate, or do you get some sort of feed-in tariff?
Exactly, yes. So all of our sites up to now, we get feed-in tariff for. So we managed to get a couple of sites in, I think went online in 2019, which were the last two sites we got in with that got feed-in tariff. So we get generation, we get revenue from what we generate and sell to the building user, what we generate and sell to the grid, and we get the feed-in tariff. And it's that combination. So it's been quite flat. I think that's an offset of we've been able to sell more electricity to the building user. Any online questions?
Good question. No, nobody is saying anything in the chat. You're clearly being slower and clearer.
Oh, okay, as well. That's okay. Oh, yes. Oh, two more. Yes. Back.
Carbon saving. So is that suggesting that if there has in effect that reduce your carbon saving amount there,
On the carbon saving?
yeah, because you're talking about potential of more carbon energy. And that traces, whereas I would thought more carbon saving is what the energy for the source.
Yeah. So I'm with the carbon saving number. I'm looking at what we generate versus the intensity of the grid at that time. So they probably weren't generating. We probably didn't use as much energy in 2021 as a country as a whole. But I'm not comparing the total number. I'm just comparing what we generated and what the grid was for that quarter. Is that?
We don't know who used the energy.
Yeah, no, we don't know. When I've taken it as a whole over the quarter, I haven't taken it for daylight hours every day and things like that. So, but yeah, if energy efficiency comes in, and obviously with COVID, our energy consumption as a whole as a country would have been lower, yes. But it's gone back up. It's come out as a country.
More renewable energy. Your proportion will carbon savings will reduce.
Yes, so over the long term, we should see that. Yeah, exactly. So over the long term, the carbon saving numbers should come down, and it will be just that change from year on year. Yes.
You had the three revenue sources.
That's the question. Yeah.
You had the three revenue sources.
Yes.
The building user, the feed-in tariff, and the
export to the grid.
And the feed-in tariff continues in spite of
Correct.
no new.
Correct. So the feed-in tariffs we keep getting, but on new sites that we look at, and which I believe Daniel will get to on PV4, we will not get feed-in tariffs. So that will change our business miles further.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Oh, sorry, we'll have to crack on, but we've got Amy at the end, so try and make a mental note and we can ask that question then. Right, thank you, David. And just to put it in scale, some of the carbon savings there. The average UK home is about 2.7 tonnes of carbon coming from their heating alone. So, you know, it is a sizable benefit from our installation. And obviously, as Andy will talk about later on, we hope to increase that benefit. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one now. So Tara, if you're able to talk about health and home well-being.
I'll try and speak slowly because I have a habit of rattling all through. So hi everyone, I'm Tara Bowers. I run our Health and Homes for Wellbeing project, which is our energy efficiency project for domestic householders. So I'll go through some figures in a minute, but I just want to give you a bit of background to the work we've been doing during the year 2021-22. So if you came to the AGM last year, you'd know that the previous year we had been hugely impacted by COVID, where we've not been able to be out in the community very much and not been able to do our infamous home visits. So 2021 saw us still pretty much largely affected by COVID. We were very much restricted on community engagement work until September of last year, when we actually started to get back to doing our drop-in clinics and outreach events. And we did have quite a slow start to that, where community groups and venues were quite slow to get back into that kind of normality, if I can call it that. But we are now back to the same levels that we saw pre-COVID. So we're out doing huge numbers of outreach events and drop-in clinics. And in fact, I'd say we're probably doing more now than we were pre-COVID, which is great news. LEAP again closed last summer, which does affect our income. So it closed for 3 months. So LEAP, thank you, Andy. LEAP, if you don't know what LEAP is our home visit service. So LEAP is Local Energy Advice Partnership. So that's a national service that's funded by energy suppliers, and we are the dedicated partner for the 5 districts that we work in for our energy advice project. So despite LEAP being closed for 3 months, overall our income last year for this project did increase. And that was down to basically the sheer hard work of my team, fulfilling all of our service contracts, and also some additional recognition that we had from funders, who felt that we deserved extra funding based on our previous track records and the outputs that we were delivering last year. At a time when many other advice services across the country were actually struggling to meet their targets. So across the country, everyone was having this community engagement issue. So there were some areas where they just weren't able to engage with community, and as a result couldn't deliver their services or deliver their targets. We were doing a great job down here in Devon, so we were rewarded as a respect of that, and so it increased our income for last year. So basically, overall, it was an extremely positive year. Our team size has grown, so as at 31st of January 2021, we had 8 contractors, and by the end of last financial year, we had 14 contractors working on the project. It's since increased again by another 1 since March. So, and I still want to recruit. So if any of you want to work for us, or you know anyone that wants to work for us, I do have 2 vacancies at the moment for home energy advisors. So please spread the word if you can. The problem with increasing the team size is it also increases the management time. So it means I've also had to recruit extra support staff. So we've now also got a support officer that helps me on a daily basis. That's Ruth. So she's working on admin, supporting me, giving me more time to do more development of our project and networking out there with partners, etc. And also we've been joined by Sarah Reeves part-time. Now Sarah has got vast funding experience, having worked for voluntary services sector groups in the past. So she's now looking after all of our funding applications for me, which again frees up some more of my time to work on actually developing the project. So that's really great news. And since the end of the last financial year, we've restructured a little bit more, and we've created a new role for a team leader, and Matthew Axe, who some of you might have met at previous AGMs. Matthew's taken on that role as being a team leader for our advisors, which again means that I don't have to do all that nitty gritty anymore, answering all their questions. I've actually got 2 of our home energy advisors here. Paul, put your hand up, Paul. Whittle, and Gilly Steepers is here as well today. So later on, if you've got any questions, feel free to speak to the Home Energy Advisors, because they're the ones that are doing all the hard work. The other notable addition to our team is Community Energy Champions. So this is a project that I've wanted to start for some time. Pre-COVID, I'd had this idea, and so when the restrictions lifted last year, I was able to launch it. Now, basically, the Community Energy Champions are volunteers. Although there is an opportunity for us to pay them travel expenses and potentially for their time if they want to actually work for us. And what we've been doing is training them up on lots of useful energy information so that they can confidently answer energy related questions in the community and then know when to refer those residents onto us for more in-depth or specialist energy advice support. And I think maybe on Zoom we might have a couple of our energy champions. Is Nigel there, Nigel Branson and Christopher Rowley. So if they're both there, thank you very much, Nigel and Christopher, for supporting us. And I'm sure you'll enjoy working with us over time. And the plan is that we've trained 5 so far. Nigel and Christopher were 2 of 5 that we've trained so far. That was at the end of the financial year. Since the end of the financial year, we've trained another 4, and I'm already getting lots of applications for more training to take place later in this year. So Nigel, I just mentioned, Nigel's actually running a clinic for us in Axminster, which is really great. So that saves one of the team having to go to Axminster. So that's brilliant news that we've got a champion doing that for us. And Christopher's been helping in Mid-Devon to do some events. So it's a really, really great role. Yeah, there's Christopher. So yeah, it's really great that we've been able to develop this, and I'm really enthused that we've had so many people come forward to work with us as volunteers. So we'll also be creating a new role this year as a champion team leader. So because I can't manage all these extra people, these extra champions, so we're going to have another role to do that. So let me tell you about some of the numbers now on the slide.
1 minute.
Yeah, okay. Hopefully you can see on the slide we had some massive increases on numbers, and that was really due to the fact that the previous year we were so restricted on what we could do. So our number of events went up significantly from 2020 to 2021. Our numbers of inquiries through the roof last year, and if I told you how many inquiries we're getting now, you wouldn't believe me. It's more than double already what we were doing last year. It's because of the energy crisis. It's absolutely phenomenal demand at the moment, which obviously then on to the number of interactions, and the interactions are the kind of one-to-one advice that we do. So we're taking an inquiry, it might be a very general, simple inquiry, and then if they need advice, we turn that into what we call an interaction. So our number of interactions went up as well last year. So the number of inquiries went up 388%, and number of interactions went up 124%, and the number of LEAP home visits or telephone calls that we did went up by 44%. When we look at when we're here next year, it will be probably double that again. Just a quick, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. The other thing that's really a big change for us is that we are now getting into more service fulfillment. So whereas previously it was much around funded work, so we would get a grant fund, we would deliver the work, we're now in demand as a service provider. So obviously we work with LEAP that I mentioned earlier, so LEAP pay us to deliver their home visits. We also deliver a project for Plymouth Energy Community, so they pay us to deliver a project. Last year we had Honiton Health Matters, who got some funding and asked us to deliver their funded project. So that was extra income for us. We also have been working with Devon County Council last year on the GHG LAD scheme, which is Green Home Grants Local Authority Delivery Scheme, which was grant funding project. We helped 35 homes to get home improvement grants, and averaging about £10,000 per property, and then some other smaller contracts, including a small contract with East Devon District Council to do some work on their household support fund. So all of this kind of stuff is developing all the time. We're getting lots and lots of interest in us actually helping people to deliver their energy efficiency work, because we're the experts. We've got trained advisors and we've got experience in this field. So that's a kind of a change in dynamic for us, that we're going from being grant funded into more of a revenue driven project, which hence was why we wanted to change the objectives. One of the reasons we want to change the objective to reflect this change in the demand of our services. And another just really quick thing, that just an interesting note, in the very first season for this project, we did 170 LEAP home visits. This year, starting from this month, we'll be doing 170 a month. So that's just a really a good indication of how big we've become. Yeah, that's it. And I just want to say a big thank you to all my team. Got some here, and big thank you.
Sarah and her team's commitment to helping people in horrible circumstances always astounds me, and I'm really, really grateful for the work you do. Sarah, you're going to have to get up again. We're going to come up. We're going to come back to some of the sort of numbers around the impact of the health and well-being in a minute, but importantly, because this pretty much comes up, I think the last two AGMs, if not, is around helping people more in the, as they call it, the able to pay or willing to pay market who want to try and do stuff with their property. So I'll send Sarah for that.
Right, got to change my head now from homes to retrofit. Okay, so yeah, so we have talked about this a few times. We've been working with the Cozy Devon Partnership. So the Cozy Devon Partnership is Devon County Council, all of the local authorities, the district councils, etc., and all of the other community energy groups that we work with on the energy efficiency side. So there's a collaboration of us that work together, and we've all been trying to develop a retrofit service over the last few years. We were hindered a bit by COVID, obviously, that slowed things up, but we're actually now getting to the point where this is virtually about to be launched imminently. I think I can use the word imminently. Imminently, it's about to be launched, which is excellent news. So this means that we'll be able to offer an advice service for those that can afford to pay for the service. So the Healthy Homes project that I was just talking about is a free service aimed at vulnerable and low-income households, and the Retrofit in Devon service will be for those that can afford to pay. So it's basically about preparing your home for the future. It's going to be delivered by the Cozy Devon Partnership. What it means for Exeter Community Energy is that we're upskilling our team. We've had some grant funding from the Community Energy Fund from Devon County Council. So we've been putting some of our team through some training. Julie and I and two others have been doing the Energy Performance Certificate training, so we can go out and do EPCs in the future. And some other people that we've contracted in, we've been upskilling them to become retrofit assessors and retrofit coordinators. So that's obviously meant we've had increased recruitment. So this is all, you know, tick, tick, tick for us. It's really, really good news for us. The process for the actual retrofit project is what's on the slide, is that basically individual households will be offered an impartial assessment of their home, which will give them a report and a plan which will identify what needs to be done on the property and in what order is the idea. With some advice on the pathways to making that happen, and also helping you find the right installers to do that, or some guidance around finding the right installers. And there could also be an option to buy some extra services in terms of managing a retrofit project if you need that. Obviously the overall aim of this project is that it will reduce carbon emissions of your property. It should improve the habitability of your property as well, and obviously reduce bills. So that's the whole aim of it all. So that's the summary of the project. Now, the good news for you as members is we want to do a pre-launch. So the official project is launching very soon via Devon County Council. But we want to do a pre-launch because we've got the team ready to go. So for our members, we'd like to offer you the chance to take part in this project on the early stages, help us work out any teething problems in the process. And for that, we can give you a 10% off the price. Now, prices will range from $550 upwards, depending on the size of the property. Now, if you're interested to find out more, there is a little form on our website that you can complete, and then one of us will call you and discuss what the options is and how much it would cost you, and then we can get the assessments arranged for you. But yeah, that's a special offer for our members for the launch of the project for 10% off. So any questions on that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we do catch Tara or myself, the other directors know a little bit, we're a bit more into the retrofit area. Retrofit is a horrible word.
Future fit.
Future fit is one we're trying to sort of put in, but retrofit's very stuck in the jargon, I
What do you want to
suppose.
use, sorry?
Future fit is the other one. But if anybody's got a good suggestion, we're all ears. But anyway, that service, you know, so it's a good opportunity for you, and we'll be up and running. So again, able to hopefully help lots of people decarbonise their home. Right, next one, Andy. Got a BB4.
Hello. Hello. I'm Andy Extance. I'm Director of Community Energy. I'm standing in front of the projector. Kind of the communications and marketing guy. That's my main thing, but I've been kind of leading on the project development. Arguably, that's marketing. I think you could argue. And so we are looking at some new solar projects on top of the ones that we already have, which we are calling Solar PV4, because we've had 3 attempts previously to put roofs on, panels on roofs around the city and around the county. This 4th one comes without feed-in tariffs, so no government subsidies. We need to make these work just on the income that we can generate by selling the electricity, basically. And historically, that's been by selling the electricity mostly to the sites, because we can sell it to them at a slightly higher price than the grid would normally pay. If we normally sell to the sites at a discount to what they would normally pay from their electricity supplier, what power generators sell their electricity at is much more lower again. The electricity suppliers are like a middleman and they have a markup. And so we're kind of in that middleman area with a lot of our sites that we have the solar panels on. And so, I mean, as energy prices have gone up, there's more scope to sell electricity at higher price to community centres and still, you know, help them out by reducing their bills a bit. But what we're now seeing is that the grid prices have gone up a great deal as well. So the electricity companies that buy electricity off us are now paying a lot more money. So that means that these kind of projects are more viable than they would have been in the past when feed-in tariffs were a thing. So we've been chatting to all sorts of people. There's lots of interesting buildings around that have potential. A lot of them are kind of more difficult projects that we might have passed over in the past, and we're kind of thinking about how we can make them work. But some of them are pretty good, got a lot of potential with large local institutions. I think we mentioned that last year. So yeah, I think in total we're in discussion with about 6 potential sites, some of whom we're just trying to figure out whether or not we can make it work. But there are 2 organisations in particular that are large local institutions which look promising. I've been chasing one of them on the phone because yeah, we're reasonably close to making an agreement with them. I've been chasing one of them on the phone pretty much every day to see if I could get them to let me to tell you today who they are, but they couldn't get that approval, unfortunately. But yeah, across one institution in particular, there's quite a few large roofs that we hope, each of them has got their own particular issues, and that's always the case doing these kind of projects. But if we were to get them all, they would be quite big. And then there's another institution which we're currently looking at one roof, which may then be a gateway to quite a lot of other roofs. But they're quite big. So across the 4 roofs that we're currently looking at, we would have generation equivalent to about 2/3 of the current amount that we've got. So, and that's across 10 roofs, or 10 roofs, maybe 11 roofs if you can. I think there are 2 at Shillingford Farm. But yeah, so yeah, that's where we're at. There's not a great deal more to say. It's still kind of in the negotiation stages. Guy who I've been trying to get on the phone is supposed to be taking it to their proper big bosses to get it approved. Meeting is sometime around now. If he gets it onto that meeting, then we should be good to go. If he misses it, then it will be September. So that's why I put up there hoping to get approval by September in case we miss that window. And then there's legal work. And that always takes much longer than you expect. So it's a way off yet, but then when we get there, there's a few things. I mean, in the process of doing it, we will be looking for a project manager to kind of come on board and look after these projects rather than kind of managing the last lot voluntarily as I did. So if people know somebody who's kind of interested in a temporary job, project managing something like this, you may know people who are working it, please tell them to get in touch. But I suppose the real big consequence of all this is that we will be launching another share offering if it all proceeds as we hope. Which will allow people to buy more, but also we'll be able to get a lot more members, which is good. It's been something that I think we've been needing to do for a little while. So yeah, so that's where we are.
Great, thank you. Okay, there is 1 minute. Anybody's got any quick questions?
I'm not looking at Zoom at the moment, by the way. I don't know if there are questions there.
No, but it's great, we've obviously got some fantastic opportunity to increase the portfolio, decrease those carbon savings, and it's great, we're talking to big organisations. One of them we've potentially had a conversation with before, but the more and more becoming a legitimate player. And we're also starting to talk to, well, I'll talk about that. Right, social impact then. So this, just a connection between that and so Devon County Council, we commissioned a piece. I work for Devon County Council. We commissioned a social impact assessment of community-owned renewables, and that concluded for a given size of solar PV installation that there was £14 million extra benefit to the local economy in socio-economic value from it being community-owned than being commercially owned. And that's the kind of thing that is finding opening doors. People are starting to see the real added value from having these things owned by a community. And also related to that is some great work that Stacey's been doing, particularly with Tara, around doing a social impact analysis. So examining how an organisation contributes to changes in society, including and beyond the sort of traditional economic impacts. So up here we've got some quotes from some of the people. I think most of these are health and wellbeing, aren't they? People, so you can obviously have a look. So we've studied extra community energy social impact. To study extra community energy social impact, we've developed a client survey for the Healthy Homes for Wellbeing project that Tara leads to better understand client needs, evaluate the programme, and provide evidence of that social impact. So there was 12 clients were surveyed, and it suggests sort of increased energy literacy, better client confidence from the intervention, from the support that Tara's team was giving, and decrease in client stress and loneliness. Some clients know that being supported was the most helpful aspect of this assistance, and I think we can't forget how many people out there are lonely, and I'm just not getting that sort of one-to-one support really. So it's really, really good to have that data, and it really helps Tara to try and get more funding. We can really talk about some of the added value. But it also looked at the community fund, and Andy's going to talk a little bit more about where the community funding is at the moment. But in terms of the assessment, so approximately £21,325 has been provided to over 15 applicant organisations since 2017, so a sizable amount of money. It's provided direct or indirect support to over 1,300 community members. So it's having a real substantial reach, and it's enhanced work environments, youth education, reduction in vehicle use, and cultivated biodiversity. So it's had a range of impacts as well. And so we have established, well, those stations now resigning. Anyway, we will have a director who has EDI, equality, diversity, and inclusion as one of their sort of areas that they hold. We want to make sure we keep going with understanding this work and obviously expanding our work in that area. So we hope to report more on that over the years to come, really, on social impact. The next one then, yes, Andy.
Yeah, Labour's happy to.
Oh, where are you, Len? Oh, brilliant. Well, this is great. I don't know where Len is in the world. Where are you?
Hi everybody, good evening. Can you actually hear me okay?
Yeah, we can, Lenka.
Yeah. Oh, great. Oh, brilliant. Sorry, I couldn't be there in person. It's just I'm not feeling 100%. I can't really hear with one of my ears, so I might be shouting. I do apologise. So my name is Lenka Hill, and I've been the director for Community Fund for the past year and a bit now. So yeah, I'm still learning new things every day. But sort of this is to a little bit to update you what we've been doing the past year. So right, sorry, my screen is not working quite well. Okay, great, now I can see it all. So in last year, we made available 6,990 to the Community Fund. And on the left side of the screen of the slide, you can see the successful projects that were realized with those funds. So it varies. So one of the pictures you can see there, it's hospice care. So they installed some LED lighting in the nursing area. So you know, sort of help the nurses to, you know, to do their day-to-day care for people who need it. Other projects we supported was, for example, the adaptation of a vehicle for wheelchair access. So also very, very important project there. Yeah, one of the things you can probably notice is that the amount doesn't add up to the full amount, and the main reason for not spending all the amount is was COVID. So COVID basically prevented from a lot of organizations to apply for the grant, or sort of to sort of have a forward-looking you know, sort of project. They were sort of trying to survive, really. So that's why we didn't spend the full amount. Currently, so we've currently opened our the round for this year. So 2021-2022, we've made available £5,400. And so far, we've got 6 applications so far, and we are open until 15th of July. So please do share with other sort of organizations or communities that might be interested in applying. They can find all the information on our website. So yeah, please do share the word.
Great. Thank you, Lenka. Right. So I'm just going to minimize you, Lenka. Don't take it personally.
Right.
Right. Where is it? That one. That one. That one. Yes. Right. So, left and right hands. Okay. So, Trevor. Yep. You okay to do the account? So, Trevor, our finance director, will take us through. This is the first time I think we've ever got it on one slide, Trevor. So that in itself is a fantastic achievement. So thank you very much.
Hello everybody, I'm Trevor Crawford, I'm the Finance Director. And just want to present the numbers to you. I think the key sort of highlights I can pull out from last year, we've extended our accounting period for the year. So last year we had our end of January financial year, we've now moved that by 2 months. And so will now be the end of March, kind of ties in with the tax year, and makes a lot of reporting on something. And so we can see that coming through within the numbers. I mean, you've heard some more exciting projects. Solar PV's done really well in terms of increase some of its revenue. We can see that feed-in tariff has increased year on year, export sales as well, and healthy homes, as Tara suggested, is the growth is quite phenomenal. So I'm going to step back. We've also had quite a bit of donations from shareholders and members as well. So revenue has increased quite significantly on last year. And it's across the board, it's in just one particular area. And then with that, we consider costs of also increased. So we've also spent a fair bit. I think we've been able to set aside share interest as well. And set aside some funds for the community fund as well, and that has left us with a surplus of around about 15,900 for the year, which again is an increase on last year. So all in all, I think it's been a pretty good year. Any questions at this stage?
I think we have been able to purchase some shares back. So with all this to the right side, you can see the shares in issue has decreased. So we've been able to purchase back about £20,000 worth of shares. And the deficit that we're carrying is decreasing. So that's always positive. And hopefully we'll, with all the exciting new projects coming on board, will disappear and go positive. And I think that the exercise of purchasing shares back will continue on an ongoing basis. But again, I guess it will be a decision with all the projects that are coming in. We will be taking on more members, so the board will need to sort of make a decision about whether we continue doing that or not. And the balance sheet, some healthy cash balances. I think we do have some of our loans coming up for renewal, so we either renew those or pay them back. So I think there's some coming up in July.
It's August, September.
August, September, and another set will also then be due and payable in January. So some of those cash balances will be set aside to either extend them or refund them, just depending on cash needs and funding all the existing projects that are coming up. Not really much else I can bring out. Is there any question?
Yeah. That information is very interesting, but and it's more that's in the financial facts, isn't it? Can it be made available to vendors via the website or something?
Yeah, of course.
Which information?
So this presents it slightly differently to how it is in the accounts.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Management accounts. Yeah.
Are these amounts in hundreds or thousands?
Thousands, 270,000.
Any other questions?
No? Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Trevor. Right. Next one. We've done that. Great. So just a quick discussion on or update on strategy then. As mentioned earlier, we had our strategy day. We have an annual strategy day over at West Town Park, a lovely thing. And we just wanted to, we unpick some of the rules. I suppose our heads were in that space. And so we just wanted to come up with a mission and a vision, not to get lost in management consultancy talk, but they are useful. And so I just wanted to reflect these to you here. So the mission one is, as a community-owned, not-for-profit organisation, our mission is to deliver zero carbon energy solutions for all. Very straightforward. And our vision is to enable the creation of a local energy system that is inclusive, decentralised and decarbonised, where community is at the heart of that transition. So obviously if you've got initial thoughts, or you'll get these slides. Apologies, I should have said that at the beginning, but any thoughts and reflections on that would be more than welcome. We are also trying to see, we've been trying to update our business plan and been able to put as much effort into it as I've hoped, but the rest of the directors have really been supportive in getting that. And what we're basically just trying to not come to realization, but really, we're growing as an organisation. We can't really grow much more without getting less of volunteers, relying less on volunteers. We've got to have paid people really to do that. And that's something that a lot of community energy organisations are understanding. If we want to see that impact, we just can't rely on everybody's afternoons, weekends and things like that. We've got to get more people. And I don't think we're that far away. So we need to do a bit more work on it. So we were looking at sort of some numbers. We think about £50,000 to £100,000. We had that. We want to be able to cover at least 6 months wages. We should be able to get somebody in to do the project managing for solar PV4, to help out with some of the healthy homes work, with the retrofit work, and also just to be there to push us as directors to be able to do more stuff as well. So really to help us to grow the organisation. So that's our sort of ambition over this year, is to really try and get that in place. And of course, we want to be creating jobs in this area. That's the only way we're going to get growth, is we've got to create more jobs in this area. So we're very keen to try and do that, really. Also as well, we've always had a bit of an interesting relationship, or a lack of a relationship with Exeter City Council. And it's always been a bit frustrating for us. But the door does seem to have opened a little bit now. We've had conversations with the Chief Exec and with the co-Chief Exec in their roles with Exeter City Council, and also with Exeter City Futures, which is something that is sort of quasi, well, I don't really understand what it is, to be honest, but it is something. Yeah. And that's proving fruitful. There's a meeting next week, which I can't now go to, Tara, so I'm really hoping. Yes, you're going to be on your own. To try and talk more about that, and it's not confidential, but not too much wider. So we're trying to think they want to do more sort of area-based interventions and multi-service type interventions. And they're really keen on the work that the Healthy Homes and Wellbeing team is being done. So we're trying to see if we can do that. The carrot for us is that they've said that there could be some sizable grants that we might be able to access. So it could really help us with that staffing issue. So we're crossing a lot of fingers for that. And we're really hoping as well that they might start to see us as being a good partner for putting more renewables onto stuff. And as Andy was saying earlier on, you know, we're talking to some sizable players in the city. So hopefully we'll really start to ramp that up. Having said all of that, of course, we're going to have to do our share offers and come out to people to find money. So I hope that money is out there as well. But it really, yeah, it's quite promising. It's really quite promising. And I think, you know, I say I work for Devon County Council. We just had an email out today from our Chief Exec, Phil, saying we ain't got any money. If Devon County Council is saying that, then hopefully the other councils will definitely be saying that as well. So I think there's a real role in community groups, you know, finding that cash and getting stuff done. So, I think we're pretty good actually. That's excellent. We've made up some time then. So next one then, we wanted to say a few thank yous and all awards and explanations and all that kind of thing. Of course. Yes. Yes, that's a really good question. So we are trying to bring. Oh, so sorry. It's about how we monitor sort of doing this, isn't it? Really? How we. Yes. Yeah. And you're right, and they're quite ethereal. It's as well, which you usually find in mission statements. There's very little concrete usually. I don't know what you mean. So this year we've been working with the directors to try and bring in some key performance indicators, some KPIs for each of our different project areas, and we can try and monitor and track those. But I think we definitely need to think about how those KPIs relate to, how those key performance indicators relate to these, and come up with ones so that we know if we have met our mission. I have to say at the moment, we've got the mission. I don't think we would know if we've got there, although I know we haven't, if any of that sentence made sense. But yeah, no, I think it's a really good point, and we do need to work on that for next year. And think that, well, we'll take a minute, but yeah, hopefully next year we'll come back with some key ways that we're going to be able to say when and if. No, when we get there, because we have to do it. Come on.
We got a slide about the carbon project we're doing. But is that one in?
No.
So I was just saying, one of the things we're doing at the moment is we're trying to assess our carbon footprints. So we've got a student from Exeter University working with me at the moment on my project, because we monitor how much money we save people, but we've never before tracked how much carbon we save from our energy efficiency work. So he's been working on that for me at the moment, and it will be ready for September, and he's doing his participation with his MSc at the moment. So, and then once we've kind of assessed our carbon footprint for my project, we'll then roll out the same methodology for the other areas of the business. So that's one way that we'll start to measure how effective we are.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that, Tara. Yeah, so first of all, Sonia Bedford, you'll notice the question mark there. I haven't been able to track down Sonia. She's not online, is she? No. So I don't know whether she is totally leaving as a director, and she has had quite a lot of changes. She's changed jobs. I think some of you may know Sonia. She's been director, supposed to be one of our founding mothers, and so she's been with us a long time. So I don't totally know where she's going yet, but we will find that out soon. Patrick Divine Wright, who works at the University of Exeter, is does stuff with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, so is very, very up there with the whole climate emergency debate, and has been a director for 3 years. More. She's COVID, but no idea that. So he's had to step down. Unfortunately, he can't be here today. So we just say, like I said, a big thank you to Patrick. It's been absolutely fantastic having him aboard. Patrick also came up with the idea about having an advisory board, and that's what Patrick's going to be on. We haven't managed to convene that advisory board yet, but we have the ambition to get that done. And so they would be, you know, when we have our strategy day, they would come along to that and give us advice and hopefully allow us to pick their brains. Stacia Ryder, who's joined us again, I can't remember when she's joined. I thought that was that year. So she's unfortunately, but not unfortunately for her, she's going, she's had to step down as a director because of her new work elsewhere. But it's been great having Stacia around, and stuff on the social values that we talked about earlier on has been great. So we're very, very grateful to her. And Trevor, bless him, is becoming a student again. So he's can't believe he needs any more letters after his name. But that's accountants, I know you like them. So Trevor's not going to have any time for us, but it's been great having Trevor on board for the last year. You know, we are making slow improvements, I think, with our financial practices, Trevor, and a lot of that is down to Trevor. And that's one of the things actually from the strategy going forward, is that I think really we lean too much on Trevor as a finance director and finance directors as a past, and I think we need to have more of a paid for service there, because it's obviously a critical part of it. So I would like to say thank you to Patrick, Stacia, and Trevor. Right, and Tara, are you going to do your bit?
So last year, for the first time, we did some awards for my team, because it was a growing team, and as I mentioned earlier, it's grown even more. So this year it's been really hard to choose who to name as my Home Energy Advisor of the Year, because frankly all of my team are winners. Every one of them works tremendously hard, going above and beyond what we expect of them. But there are two people I want to award this year. Jessica Lee Wright, who can't be here today. Jess joined us about a year ago, and she's got 2 small children, so she juggles working part-time with us with her child responsibilities, picking up from school, etc., and school holidays. But she's really applied herself to the role and has become an experienced home energy advisor in quite a short space of time. And I want to give Jess the special award for this year, because LEAP, that we mentioned earlier, they do some quality assurance checking of our work, and they assess us on the feedback from clients and also on our accuracy of their processes. We have to fill in quite a complex detailed form when we do a LEAP home visit. And Jess got 10 out of 10 on her quality assurance feedback from LEAP. So very well done to Jess, and I've got a little gift for her here as a special award from me. Now, she's not, yeah, she couldn't be here today, but yeah, so Jess gets my special award. But I'd like to tell you about the person I've decided to give our Home Energy Advisor of the Year award to, and she's actually here, it's Julie. So, the reason I chose Julie was because she only joined us on the 1st of November, right in the middle of our busy winter period. And I basically made her start straight away. She had about 4 weeks training, and then she was out on her own. But she rose to the challenge, and Julie's become a really super experienced home energy advisor. And she really handles lots of complex cases for us. I mean, extremely complex. The very first home visit that she did that I shadowed, it was absolutely one of the worst home visits I've ever had to encounter in 6 years of energy advice. It didn't put her off. It was an absolute nightmare from start to finish. But Julie uses a really intelligent, common sense approach to all the client issues that land on her lap. She's absolutely solves them with dedication and tenacity, always putting the customer first, We've had some brilliant feedback about the work that she's done and her helpful nature. And on top of that, she looks out for opportunities to help us develop the project across the city. As I mentioned earlier, she's also been doing the training for the EPCs, which will add another string to her bow. So Gilly, up you come.
I'd like to say thank you to Tara and also to Paul and all the team, because they have to cut on me ringing them up and going, I don't know what this is about. What's that doing? We were doing a lot with grants, and grants are really weird things. They change all the time, don't they? And then you get the kind of lag where they say, oh, the grant's coming out in July, and then it doesn't. And then, or what's the actual criteria? And you just start, your head spins about how we actually can say this to people, you know, get it accurate, because you can't really get it accurate. They haven't actually got it accurate behind the scenes. So, you know, that to me is one of the most challenging things, and just learning about the madness that goes on behind the scenes of grants. So, yeah, but it's been lovely to be part of it, and I hope to continue and have enough energy to do it.
Great, thank you. And just while we're doing thank yous, I think it would be good for me to say, as I've been chair for this year, how great it's been. The board, they've done most of the work. I just do the gloss along the top, really. So I would like to thank all of the directors on board. They've all been absolutely fantastic. So I think that's it, really. So I know there was one question that we didn't have time for. Oh, sorry. So yes. So maybe we could just do some questions. Did you remember? Sorry. Did you know?
Well, my question was, it went back to this business about the high or low intensity carbon credit and so on. And then the first part of that was explained, okay, different kinds of energy generation, they are vastly different rates, carbon consumption, etc. What I couldn't get my head around is how what we do can be made into an equation with that. I couldn't see the meaning of that equation.
So
there was a ratio.
So you go on. They give a number to the carbon intensity of the grid at any particular point in time, and that's made of a mixture of what is generating electricity at the time. That's per kilowatt hour. So I know how many kilowatts we produce, and I just multiply the two.
You mean from all our generation?
All of our generation assets. So over the quarter, I know how much electricity we generate. Over that quarter, and I've just multiplied that by the grid intensity over that quarter.
So the saving that they use is the saving we've contributed into that grid intensity being the number it is, because they're counted our solar contribution to it.
So are the two figures measured in the same units?
Yeah, kilowatt hour is what I'm using to evaluate how much we generate and the carbon intensity per kilowatt on the grid.
Yeah,
Great.
It's a difficult equation to.
Yeah.
Oh, this is where we need a whiteboard. We need a whiteboard, David. You can start drawing it out. So there was a question at the back, I think. There's some.
Yeah. Regarding an article last week saying that the plan what you do here, and sounding and the rest of that, you're doing great things, despite the exception of everything else, isn't replicated very much over the country. And also, more pressure is needed on new house buildings to make sure that the height back pumps and so these other things. Certainly, you're racing senior and you all work very hard. Do you share what we're doing this
Yeah, very much so. So there's a great, so Devon's very lucky. We have a large number of community energy groups. I'd say we've got the most community energy groups of any county in the country. Some of the first ones, really, I think we were here as well. So, and we've got a Devon Community Energy Network, which we meet quarterly, isn't it? Yeah, so quarterly we all get together and share stuff. We've also got that group came together and set up an organisation called the Devon Energy Collective, which is there to try and develop large projects, so solar farms or whatever that may sit across two different community energy patches, or so to speak. So it's definitely, coordinated, and Plymouth Energy Community, which is an offshoot of Plymouth City Council, is part of that as well. We've also got Community Energy England. I didn't get to go to the conference. Yeah, so normally somebody from Exeter, Freedom, yes. So we always get somebody from Community Energy to go to the Community Energy England conference, and that, then again, that's sharing stuff that's happening over the entire country, really. So yes, I'm sure there's definitely more we could learn from other organisations, but we do try our best to keep in touch with all of them and find out. From a policy point of view, obviously, we're very hamstrung with that one, really, but we do, Devon County Council, and I would say this, we do talk a lot with the community energy sector and support them. Districts, I think, to varying degrees do as well, and obviously the districts are the planning authorities when it comes to housing, but what we hope is that national policy on housing actually starts to improve as well, but we'll have to wait and see. Any other questions?
Two small AOBs. If we didn't mention this earlier, you probably would have seen on newsletters and on our website, we've actually won 2 awards in the last financial year, because my team won the Southwest Energy Efficiency Awards for Best Vulnerable Customer Team of the Year, Support Team of the Year. I didn't bring the trophy that comes with that, I forgot, but there is a trophy.
The table would have collapsed.
It was. And then we won this one, which is from the Green Energy Awards. We won it for Best Community Energy Initiative in the country. So
there it is.
So that's one AOB I forgot to mention earlier. And the other one is, you will also know probably that we've had in previous years the Winter Warmth campaign, where we ask for donations towards our hardship funds. This year, more than ever, I think we're going to be asking for support for that. And it was just really to say, keep an eye on our social media. If you use that, keep an eye on our newsletters. If you can share that when we launch it, which will be soon, because I want to launch it earlier this year than previous years. And we'd be really grateful if you could share that with people. Just a quick little snippet on something. I was talking to a friend the other day who's in their 70s. They're actually going to be getting £1,000 in windfalls from the government because of all this sudden free money that the government seems to have to give to everybody. He doesn't need £1,000. Now, there must be lots of other people out there that are going to be getting all this money that they don't really need. I'm not saying £1,000 needs to be given to us, but a small donation from those extra windfalls would be very gratefully received, so that we can help people that are in extreme fuel poverty, which are many. We have people ringing up every day looking for fuel vouchers. So it'd be really, really, really great if you could share that when we announced it. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks very much. Okay, I think that will.
As you all know, Alistair is our current chair, and as he mentioned at the beginning this afternoon, we normally have a new chair every year. On this particular occasion, Alistair agreed to stay on for a second year. We all think he's done a brilliant job. We're particularly happy that he's agreed to stay on for a second year. So can we have a round of applause?
A pleasure. Yeah. Thank you. Right, so we'll wrap up this and then we can pretty much keep on time, which would be great. So there's the register sheet over there. Please make sure you sign that. There's your pen on it over there. And yeah, and just to say, really great, obviously, to see you all. Thanks so much for coming along. I appreciate it. It's a lovely day. But hopefully you can see that, your organisation is really delivering the carbon reductions that we need. It's making real benefits to people's lives as well. Some of the most important changes that can happen. And we're trying to do more. And we're obviously able to do that with your support. So thanks so much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.